You want to make sure you have everything you need. So you're going to have a temperature variable kettle, your Chasen on a Chasen stand. You want to have a sieve. We like to use a measuring spoon instead of a chashaku. Scale, bowl, ready to rock and roll. First things first, you're going to need your Chasen on a Chasen stand. Chasen that we're using are by Masaki Kubo. This is a Shin Chasen. This is built for durability. This is the Chasen that was recommended to us by him when we told him that most of our clients were cafes and we needed something that could stand up to thousands of drinks and not fall apart in 3 seconds. It's also not been sprayed with anti-molding agents, herbicides, or pesticides, and the wood has actually been properly seasoned. So like a good cabinet maker will know that you need seasoned wood so your cupboards don't warp. A good Chasen artisan knows you need seasoned bamboo so that your whisk does not warp. If you have no idea where your whisk is from, make sure there's no basically oxygen absorber pouch in the cylinder with it, but also the weave, the black band, needs to be nice and straight and low in the cut. It's going to allow for the fronds to splay out in a nice circle even after they're wet. You'll notice that lower quality whisks, once you wet them, they will get all warped and they won't have that circulatureness and it won't be as tight of a froth as a result. So the whisk sits on a Chasen stand or Chasen naoshi. This is going to help to shape the fronds so that they maintain the ideal shape for whisking effectively. You don't necessarily have to have it, but we find that it makes a big difference and we highly recommend using them. Don't use one partway through the lifespan of a whisk though. You should use it from the beginning. Otherwise your whisk will get really tight and then when you force it onto a new Chasen stand, it could break the whisk. We also use a chakoshi or a tea sieve. This is going to give us a tight enough gauge that it will break apart the powder, give us nice depth of flavor. When the gauge is coarser than this, it can whisk a little bit easier, but you won't have the same depth of flavor. So we find opening it up so there's more surface area makes a big difference. The chashaku, you want to use 2 scoops of, but it's not very consistent. And we are supporting a lot of places that serve our matcha in bar service. So being able to do 1 leveled off one of these guys, which is a 5 milliliter measuring spoon, is roughly 2 grams. It can be wildly different from day to day and from matcha to matcha. 1.7, 2.3 grams, big variation. So we like to weigh everything and we'll use the spoon just as our hopeful 2 grams and then the scale will confirm it. Scale, we really believe in mass. We always have. What we find when dosing your tea is 1 level teaspoon is anywhere from 1.7 to 2.3 grams. This lets you get closer to that 2.0 gram goal that we have for a really consistent matcha. This is going to help manage costs and consistency if that's your thing, like it is ours. A temperature variable kettle, water set at 60 degrees centigrade. We change this temperature depending on the region that we are making. For example, if we were making a matcha from Takaki-san, who's in southern Japan, we would increase that temperature to 70 degrees. It's going to make a more ideal flavor. When you're making matcha, especially competition grade matcha from Kyoto, it does help to have a lower temperature to help protect the umami. The reason why we choose to use a tea bowl or a matcha Jawan is those high sides help to give you enough room to whisk effectively and get a nice froth. But essentially when you are choosing your bowl, just make sure it has a nice tall side, can fit between 12 to 16 ounces. It should have a sloping bottom, no sharp corners, and even better is if there's what's called a chadamari. So in the bottom, there's a divot or a dimple, translated as tea puddle, chadamari. So you want to make sure it has that too. And aesthetically, when you finish drinking, there's a little bit left over in that little dimple in the bottom of the bowl, and that's supposed to be aesthetically pleasing.